I am studying AS, Biology, Chemistry, Maths and Geography, and I hope to take them all to A2. The GCSEs I studied Maths, the 2 Englishes, Biology, Chemistry and Physics, Sociology, Geography, Citizenship, Religious Studies. I'm sure there's more. I got 7 A stars and 6 A's, which was really important for me because I'm aiming for the Russell Group universities, so I wanted to get the best I could. I got my A stars in the sciences and the maths because I put my most time into revising for them and I find those subjects easier. I like to find a quiet place where I can be on my own and make posters or revision cards I can look through. For French, I stuck posters all around my house and memorised like every word of it, which I found quite useful. I don't mind revising if I'm in a group, but not with people that I know will distract me. So it has to be somewhere I can be study focused. I probably started revising later than I should have. I think everyone's realised that you need to start revising months before your GCSEs, not just, oh, GCSEs in a month, let's start revising now. That's definitely something I carried over into AS. I've now realised, okay, we need to start revising beforehand. For some subjects, I use pure revision guides. So citizenship and religious studies, I use my revision guides for. They had specifically what you should remember, what the main topics of it was. So for citizenship, it had quotes that I could use, and that's the same for religious studies. So I knew where my mind should be going and the right way to answer questions. The tips I'd give for revising would be to make a plan and stick to it, because otherwise you'll take breaks and then may not go back to your revision, or you'll give some subjects more time than others and then won't be balanced. And also take some free time. Don't stress too much, because you need to make a balance, otherwise you'll get really tired or really stressed. The advice I'd give for people who are struggling would be look for more information about the subject as a whole that you can then bring back into the questions, and speak to teachers or peers because they can help you understand it. The teachers gave us tips, they gave us classrooms, any resources we wanted or we didn't understand anything, they'd explain to us. And they'd give us revision guides, or we'd go out and get revision guides. I've done the Learning Styles quiz. I found out that I'm a visual learner, which means I like to be in a quiet place that's study focused. I like to use diagrams and colours. I like to underline keywords and make posters, which is all quite useful.
I think the difference between GCSEs and A-levels is that there's more content in A-levels and there's less time, so everything becomes harder and you're under more pressure. My tips for people that are currently doing their GCSE is to start revision now and not put it off till last minute, because that becomes a habit. You keep saying, I'll do it tomorrow, and when you don't know, like, you've got a week left and you haven't even started, so it's a bit time consuming and you need to start as soon as possible. I found group revision to be really helpful, just to sit with other of my friends and, you know, talk about our different subjects. I also found past papers to be incredibly significant. I mean, they're really important, and just do as much as you can, do all of them. For example, for subjects like maths, past papers are the key to getting the best grade. I use the revision guide for maths and I use the revision guide for citizenship and religious studies, and because they're kind of not difficult subjects to revise for, but they're different, so I found that using a revision guide is more helpful in terms of the content that is in the revision guide. The things that I found helpful about revision guides were that they had little boxes with key information that you wouldn't, for example, find out in your class. What I found helpful when I was revising is to revise in half an hour, every half an hour, and take a break for like 10 or 20 minutes, so then, you know, you don't get too stressed or too tired. Another thing I found helpful when I was revising is to not listen to music, because that distracts you, but to just go through the information again and again until you know it, because that way that you're sure that you know it and you don't need to come back to it and waste time. GCSEs are very important because they help you decide what your favourite subject is, and then see what career that links into. So had I not done history, I would not have known that I want to do law in future, and it was significant in that way. I took the learning style quiz and I was all 3 learning styles, so in that way I adapt to everything. So, yeah.
Well, to be honest, my revision wasn't really that clear. To be fair, I did kind of rush it to the last minute, but the thing that I normally did was to go through the revision guide and make notes, and while I was making notes after, I tried to repeat it in my head without looking at the paper. So yeah, so a bit of writing and remembering. What helps me concentrate is to achieve and to succeed the grade that I really want. So that motivates me to revise and to do the best I can be. Revision tips for other people. I would suggest revising as soon as possible and not leaving it to the last minute. And I suggest giving different revision techniques. So if you just do revision cards, maybe add something else to consolidate your revision and your learning. So multitasking on revision. I took the learning scale quiz and I found out that I was an auditory learner, and this means that I am much more suited for audio information. When I'm revising, I try to say over the information that I've just read, so repeating it over and over again, and this audio information becomes more consolidated into my mind. Other revision tips would be to try and be as comfortable as possible. So for me, I try and sit down in the most comfortable place, sometimes on my bed, sometimes with snacks or drinks, so I don't find another excuse saying that, oh, this is too boring. I try and be very relaxed and very engaged with my revision, so yeah.
It was important for me to do well in my GCSEs because I knew that in the future it would impact on how well I did, and it's a good ground level that universities look at. I think in the long term my GCSEs are important because they fit in, because you have to have a certain level of GCSEs, like you have to have a certain bar. Like for a lot of university courses you have to have an A in a language, and I think it was important for me to get that certain bar so I can progress, and also in the future I might want to do something within languages, so that was important for me to get this. For me personally, I really liked listening to like podcasts and like audiobooks of the text I was studying. I felt that was really effective for me. I also really liked drawing mind maps because I was able to kind of create my ideas and work out what my opinions on subjects were. For a lot of essay writing subjects, it's not just important to know the facts, it's important to understand how it all fits together. So that was good for me. I took the learning quiz and I was both a kinesthetic learner and an auditory learner. And the type of learning techniques that are important for me, I think, are the using mind maps and posters and posting them all around my house so that I see them frequently, because it means that they kind of get ingrained in my mind, so it comes quicker to recall. Also with auditory, I think the fact that if I have a conversation with someone, then I'll remember it better because I listen to it and actually understand it. I would say make sure that you have a lot of space when you're revising. Like make sure you have a clean room, like have a lot of space and spread things out. Because that really helps. Like if it's important to leave a lot of time for revision, but it's also important to make sure that you have a space where you feel that you're comfortable learning and comfortable creating a space where you can kind of absorb information. The revision guides I used when I was revising, it had detailed guidelines of all the key pieces I was doing, so I was able to understand the key features. I also used revision guides for English because I felt that they really added little bits of extra information, which I was able to then use in essays and talk about, which kind of, I think, highlighted my work. Also, with characters, they went in detail about different characters, and so I was able to actually understand the characters on a deeper level. I also felt that with subjects such as maths, it gave you a better understanding when you didn't have a teacher around or someone to tell you things. You could kind of see where you were going wrong and see the work process. I think a topic that I was finding quite hard was a topic in maths, like remembering all the different equations. And I think being able to make flashcards and writing down on one side what the equation was and on the other side when I would use it and what it was called really helped me and like, made me able to remember much quicker and getting through it. And also I was quite bad at learning like French vocabulary, so I would write loads of flashcards and write on one side the French word and one side the English word, and then just getting ingrained in my mind the different words and the patterns really helped me. The teachers gave me some resources before my exams, and that was useful because I was able to understand the clear information that I needed. But I also went out and got my own revision guides because I felt that I needed extra information, or I didn't understand some things so well and felt they would be beneficial. I would quite like to go to university, perhaps to study politics or like international relations, and in the long term I'd quite like to be a diplomat.
Yeah, I think I was pleased with my GCSE results. I got all A's and A stars, so yeah, I was pretty pleased with my results. It was important for me to do well because ASs kind of lead off GCSEs, so if you do well at your GCSEs, you will probably do well at A-level, and universities do look at GCSEs as well as A-levels, so you should aim to do well at both. For revising and techniques, I went a bit over the top, colourful, massive posters everywhere, loads of like colourful revision like cards and stuff with like colour coordinated, highlighted stuff everywhere around the house. So whenever I walked around the house, there was like something anywhere for me to read. And yeah, lots of colour and like brightness and stuff. Some good revision techniques I had were probably using acronyms or like colourful like signals to trigger your memory and going back to things, so doing them once in like for half an hour, leaving it and then going back to it maybe an hour or two later, so you can see if you remembered it or not. Revision guides, I used loads of them, especially like the ones where they go through things step by step, because they are really helpful and they're great use of like knowledge when you don't have teachers or someone around to help you. You can always just crack open a revision guide and it will give you an easy way of how to do something. When I found something difficult or hard to like remember or like try to learn, it was always easier to make a separate time just for that one thing. So I'd go over it and over and over again. And then if I still didn't quite get it, I'd probably ask go through a couple of books or like revision tips on it, or go ask a teacher, ask what I could do to you wouldn't stop revising it until you know it like 100% and you're completely confident about it. I took the learning styles quiz and I found out that I was a visual learner, so to do that I remembered stuff and learnt stuff really well from reading things and looking over it and attaching it to a certain image rather than like writing it down or trying to memorize it. Final advice I'd give to anyone doing exams: don't leave it until the last minute. Don't try to do that because it won't work. You'll try to cram in too much. And although you're not saying revise all day, spend an hour, have a break. Don't try to do everything, it won't work, it won't go in. So try to have fun when you're revising, because it's not all about that. You need to have a break. If your mind's not relaxed, then you're not going to learn anything. So do some exercise or watch some TV, just have a bit of a break. I got loads of advice from teachers and older students on how to revise, and everyone's different, but you can kind of adapt to what other people have done. There's some people would be when they went to the toilet, they'd stick a poster on the back of the toilet so they'd sit down and be reading something really quickly, or they'd get other people to test them. So it's always nice to find out what other people are doing so you can kind of adapt to their style or find your own style of what to revise, of how to revise.